Michael Snowden. I'm a guitar maker and I'm located in Marion in Adelaide, South Australia. My journey to be a luthier started when I was still in primary school. I lived only a few houses away from a blacksmith by the name of Jeff Barnes, and walking home from school I found a bit of wood on a building site, and I took it to Jeff and said, can I build something from this? And he helped me to make a gun, actually, I think a pistol from that bit of wood. When I finished school I was apprenticed as a cabinet maker to a German cabinet maker here in Adelaide, and he was very tough but very good. And when I'd finished my apprenticeship with him, he said to me, because he had been working in Europe, he said, you need to go to Europe. You need to study in London, and you need to travel. So I did exactly that. I sort of went and worked in London for many years. There's a couple of photos here from that period. So this one here would be like 1988, I believe, 87, 88. I was in London at that point. Also during that time I would have visited my sister, who's a violinist in Vienna. So these would be in Vienna. These are definitely Vienna. A friend of her, Gert Meditz, who was a conductor and impresario. We toured Southern Europe and Spain, Italy with him as the conductor. That's your neck here. No, you can do whatever you want, mate. Just no tap dancing. Then, towards the end of the 80s, the antique furnishing industry in London was sort of closing. Well, not closing, but the fashions were changing, and it was slowing down. And I came back to Adelaide, and I met a violin maker by the name of Tom Lewis. And he said, well, why don't you study violin making? A little bit with a bit of 180. Yeah. So there's your 180, sand a little bit of that, collect some dust. I began teaching again a little bit by accident, and someone asked me if they could come to my workshop and make a guitar. And I hadn't done that before, and I said yes, yeah, absolutely. So they came into the workshop and I did that, and I found that I enjoyed that. I then went and studied a Bachelor of Education, and so that I was more aware of teaching practices. So now, through my wood and strings business, I have many students doing a variety of instruments, and we generally don't say no to new instruments. So mandolins, harps, anything that's got wood and strings, and we have a plan to it, we are quite happy to take on that challenge and do it. That one. Oh yeah. So you can see that red line through there. That just shows us that that's a flat spot that you've got with a leveling bar. Yep. And we don't want to lower it. We almost want to keep that tiny bit of red. Yep. As we go. Unscrew that. Yes. So a lot of those are introduced to me by my students because they're professional players potentially of those instruments, and bring you examples and talk to you about their requirements for those instruments. So we're a little bit different in that regard, that we can do everything we can do. We can customize everything, and we look to do that for students so that they are able to make what they want to make, even if it's their first instrument. Shim it with veneers. Yeah, it's a good look. You can see it's a good 2 mil we want to take off the bottom of that. One of the things about using timber for instruments is that we want it to be very well seasoned. So what you're buying in the timber yards is dry and seasoned, but to further season that improves it as a timber to work with. Number one, stability. It's going to remain more stable throughout the time that you're working it, and even then when it goes into an instrument. So even with timber that, you can put a moisture meter over and it says it's dry and good to use, you'll notice that, even in, the time it takes to build, that if that's not really well seasoned, that you're going to have potential problems with it. So once you've bought it, you would put it down for a good 7 to 10 years. It seems like a long time, but at that point where we started to buy it and you'd date it and put the source on there and just store it, then that timber, when you're bringing it out now, 20, 30 years later, it's got qualities that is just not possible with a newer piece. You can compare the two and they don't compare. Once it's got strings on it, we can use it to see three main things. One is the response of the air chamber, or the body response. Another is the response of the top and the response of the back. So we look to check all three. Ultimately, with building a guitar, we want it to be as strong and as light as possible. We're trying not to overbuild it, to make it, we want to build it just so that it doesn't fall apart. But given the rigours of a touring, performing musician, they need to be reasonably strong. Designing a new instrument, the processes would start, with the design, with the drawing, with the making of moulds, the jigs, the templates. There's a lot of time in that that's not seen in the finished instrument. But once you have those set up for a new model, so let's say we've got a new guitar model and we've got the moulds, we've got the jigs, the templates that we're going to use for marking, for setting out braces, all of that. Most of that's done on paper or in CAD beforehand, but once we've got that and we're in the workshop and we've got those jigs and templates and we get started, generally I would start with selection of the material. If I'm making for a player, would have a part in that because they have their own favourites or they're after a particular tone, so that's already decided in advance. So I'm not selecting species, I'm only selecting from the sets that I've got in that species. So selections, testing of those selections. So for example with tops, once we've jointed them and done a preliminary thicknessing, we're going to do deflection tests on them to test their stiffness, and that gives us an idea of the final thickness that we'd be able to achieve on that top. So we're looking to then, once we've got a box and a neck finish, to assemble those, attach the fretboard, and then it goes into, once we've got that and made the bridge, we're into finishing. The finishing stage is almost a whole new process in itself in terms of preparation, finishing, and that could be spray finishes or hand applied finishes, so it could be either, but both of them require considerable work in order to get, if you're after a really high-end result, you need to put in a high-end effort.